What's up, gamers, and welcome back to more WotC-20. Today's matchup is going to be Eevee Foxbox versus Machamp. Fun deck that I haven't gotten to see a lot of yet, so I'm excited to see Machamp in action. And right off the bat, opening hands, looks like we're going to have an active Cleffa versus Machamp and a benched promo Eevee. So fan club immediately comes down from Machamp's side. We'll probably see a Cleffa come out of here, among other things. And yeah, we got an Eevee mat thematically for the Eeveelutions deck. That's very fun. And a Clef comes down, we'll see what else. Possibly a Machamp, maybe some sort of supporting mon, like a Sentret I could see being in this deck, but your guess is as good as mine. Feel free to leave comments down below on what you would splash in these decks as tech support or otherwise. I assume we'll see different kinds of Machokes, different kinds of Machamps. It's kind of like going to the zoo. So there's the Sentret. Familiar face, very powerful supporter once it evolves into Furret, but that is just good old Neo Discovery Sentret. Not many Sentrets to pick from. There are 3 in total. 2 of them have 50 HP, this being one of them. A surprisingly occasionally relevant psychic resistance on this Sentret, and just arguably more usable attacks than the Aquapolis Sentret. But let's see, a Warp Energy went down onto the Machamp, so that pulled a Cleffa back active. So no free Eeks for either side, at least off the bat, and a Goldberry. So you can see this is going to be very resource intensive for the Machamp side. Machamp in general, fighting types in general require a lot of cards to be happy, healthy, and perform their best. A Strength Charm comes down onto the Eevee and a Lightning Energy to the Cleffa, rolling for an Eek, hits a heads through the baby rule, and we're eking. So the funny thing about Strength Charm on Eevee is it does allow it to hit 30 off of bite. It can take out a Cleffa. And a second fan club, gotta love seeing that, for the Machamp side is going to bring down yet another Machamp. I believe this is a Rocket Machamp. And while fishing out the second card, we'll go over Rocket Machamp, because I do believe they're both foreign language right now on board. 50 HP. First attack for DCE is Punch for 20. Second attack is Kick for 30, which is a Fighting Energy and a DCE. So you know this deck will be running DCEs, especially if there's a Sentret waiting to evolve, and the other Pokemon pulled out with this second fan club is going to be another Cleffa. Not a bad idea with the Strength Charm sitting on Eevee on the other side. A lot of mashing going on for the Eevee side right now. Maybe they're waiting for some disruption if it exists in this Machamp deck. And I'm liking the gold sleeves from Machamp too. Looks like there's a faint Pikachu silhouette I can see, 25th anniversary maybe. So Gust brings up the Eevee. That is going to be a Gust simply to get a guaranteed Eek, because you know that Eevee can free retreat, and usually we would have seen that Eevee hit up a chain reaction by now, but there is a world. Let's see, another Eevee comes down. Looks like there's some Eeveelutions in hand, so we might just see some chain reaction happen now. There is a world, though, where if there isn't evolving, which of course there is, that Machamp on bench could swap with the Cleffa. Maybe there's a Strength Charm in this Machamp deck, and you might see a Punch for 30, but actually you wouldn't need to see a Punch for 30. That Eevee is fighting weak. That would have been hilarious. Anyway, we don't like having fun here and knocking out Eevee before it can evolve, so Jolteon and Espeon are now on board. Promo Eevee is just a wild card. Chain Reaction means whenever a Pokemon evolves, and our current ruling in format is your side or the opponent's side, so during either turn, you can search your deck for a card that evolves from Eevee and evolve it. You can even do that when you play Eevee directly from your hand. It can be evolved pretty much immediately if you force an evolution. And a Desert Shaman comes down, so everyone's getting shamaned. Looks like there was also a Gust to bring in a Machamp, and an energy removal to get energy off board. So lots of trainers flying from the Eevee side here. Now there's no energy attachments except for the Cleffa on the Machamp side. And this Espeon might hit for super effective damage in the later turns here, which would be very bad if you're a Machamp or a Machoke enthusiast. But it looks like instead Espeon's just going to free retreat to bench. Crazy that it's an 80 damage body, or 80 HP body with a free retreat in the E-card format. But Cleffa gets guaranteed Eek, and a DCE attached to Espeon means that we are one Psychic or Rainbow Energy away from seeing that Espeon come in and take down a Machamp. So lots of thinking on what the Machamp side will do. Maybe you just let this Machamp eat it. You do have 2 down. You've already seen 1 Warp go to the bin. Looks like it's a DCE attached to the Cleffa too. That's tough. Wild turn for Foxbox here. Even though we have yet to see a Fox. There's a Fox. There's a Brock's Ninetales in hand. Alright, we've seen Evolution. So that could chain reaction the Eevee. I guess they just haven't done that yet. We'll see if they catch that, but chain reaction on Eevee would have triggered from this Machoke evolution. DCE did come down, so punch for 20 wouldn't be the worst thing here from Machoke. Looks like that was that an item finder for Fan Club? Okay, brings down the Mime. So Vending Mime will get rid of this weakness and resistance game that's currently going on, which is very important, so I can see why findering for it was a big deal. But regardless, Baby Flip is a Tails. No punching babies. So that Machoke is an Expedition Machoke. It has 80 HP, punch for 20 on the DCE, and you can probably read from here, Mega Kick for 50 is 2 fighting and a colorless. So it can swing. But even still, I don't see why you wouldn't, if you have the means to, and I do see a Psychic Energy and a Rainbow, I think. Or no, that's a Fire. You know, yeah, Fire, Psychic, and Rainbow in hand. Why wouldn't you just bring in the Espeon anyway if there's no super effectiveness? You're going to swing for 40. And then you're almost guaranteed to hit enough heads with a follow-up attack to knock out the Machoke anyway. Nope, we're going to go for an Eek, slowing things down here. I would have liked to see that Espeon come in. It's a really good attacker. You can usually, if you damage blast for 30, what was that? What was that a roll for? That was a roll for a punch. Okay. Just quick turn, 20 to Cleffa's face, but as I was saying, damage blast, flip a number of coins equal to the number of damage counters on the defending Pokemon. Damage blast will do 30 plus 10 for each additional head. So tagging any damage on the opponent with Espeon and then swinging again with Espeon, or even after something else swings, damage blast can do a good amount of damage for a Psychic Energy and a DCE. Alright, Vaporeon comes down. I'm going to have to get all these evolutions lined up here, but that is Skyridge Vaporeon. Pretty cool card. Self-healing, which is also on that Jolteon on bench here, means whenever you attach the correct corresponding elemental energy from your hand to that evolution, it removes all status conditions. So I've never really seen that matter too much, but sometimes it does. Cleffa is now retreating. That energy was bounced from the Cleffa to the Jolteon with Espeon's ability, which is an insane ability. Energy return. You can do that as many times as you want, and it looks like Jolteon came in just to tag the Machoke with a Thunder Shock, but it hit a Tails on the paralysis, so I still would have just come in with the Espeon. Alright, Fighting Energy is used to retreat that Machoke out of there. And we're going to guarantee an Eek off of the Cleffa. Not a bad line to take at all. You might see Espeon bounce the DCE over to the Jolteon. That could take a hit. Oh, or there's a DCE in hand. So keep in mind, any of these DCEs can be bounced where they need to be. So Vaporeon is also potentially going to be able to attack. We'll talk about those attacks if we need to. Right now it looks like we're looking at Jolteon's package. Item Finder out of nowhere. We're going to see a Shaman. I would have liked to keep the water energy there, though, but it's going to discard a Cleffa and a Flareon. Flareon, I guess, not really needed in this matchup. Or at least I didn't think it was needed in this matchup because I didn't pull it up. Alright, and draw 4 for Shaman. There's another Psychic in hand. Not sure what the energy spread in this Foxbox deck is. And again, still no Foxes. This has just been pure evolution aggro. And yet, no prizes taken. Something worth noting, if there is another Gust to be found, you can Gust up that Mime, hit it for super effective damage. Its ability is only active on the bench, and that was a heads anyway for Jolteon to tag that Cleffa, take the first prize of the game. Jolteon used Thunder Spark, so that was 40 to the Cleffa, and then it does 10 to any benched Pokemon with at least 1 energy on it, yours and your opponent, so that's what all the damage counters are for. Fighting energy to Cleffa, Goldberry to Machoke. Try to keep that energy at bay, or the damage at bay. Trader's going to send in an Espeon. Let's see what they pull out. Might see a Fox here. Nope, it's another Eevee. Probably one of the best cards in format despite having 30 HP. And now that there's a Goldberry on Machoke, if there happens to be Strength Charms in this deck, can't stack those tools, so you know you're safe from it getting tagged. That Vending Mime now working in a different kind of way because that fighting weakness is not relevant on the Eevee anymore if it were to be gusted up. Actually, the fighting weakness isn't relevant on the Jolteon either. That's tough. So back-to-back heads on Cleffa swings. That's going to be another prize for Jolteon. Thunder Spark spreading damage around more. So now we're at bound to 30 on that Machoke. We'll keep an eye there. If Machoke comes in, I think you're just swinging with Espeon. I mean, you get 3 flips to hit 2 heads, and I'd take it the way things are going right now. Chop comes in, so this has been a very fast opener from Foxbox. And another Machoke comes in from hand. Furret also evolving. I'm not seeing all this chain reaction pop off here. I think this is the second time this match where chain reaction on Eevee hasn't been triggering. They're too locked in. Alright. Cleffa. I think that was a trader to put Iggly back in the deck. Now, Iggly buff is a fun card because, at least in this matchup, if we do see Brock's Ninetales come down, you can just turn it off on bench and it has to discard whatever it shapeshifted into. Kind of hilarious. You can see a Machamp is being pulled out here. And Machamp immediately evolves. Yes, it does. Okay, so that is the terraforming Machamp from Expedition. Terraforming means once per turn before you attack, even if it's on the bench, it can be active or benched. This Machamp will allow you to look at the top 4 cards of your deck, rearrange them as you like. Can't be used if it's statused, of course. And it looks like we're just going to punch a Jolteon for 20. Too bad you can't Iggly buff and toggle off your own Mime. Alright, another trader. It looked like that was a Dark Espeon going in. That's not a common card to see, and an Umbreon's getting pulled out. Now, they could have just chain reactioned into that during the opponent's turn instead of using a trader here, but I assume we'll see Terraform put in a lot of work. Alright, and I have to pull up this Umbreon as well. Alright, we'll talk about Umbreon if it ends up mattering, but for now all you need to know, 80 HP, also a fighting weakness. That Mr. Mime is possibly hurting just as much as it's helping now. Healing Field comes down, but it's a tail, so that would have healed off the Jolteon. Now if you attack here, you would end up popping the Gold Berry on 2 cards. Yep, so I guess the best way to remove those Gold Berries is to proc them. So Jolteon is going to Thunder Spark, 40 to active gets healed off, and then any benched Pokemon with attaches are going to take damage. So that procced the other Gold Berry on the Machamp. I assume we see Terraforming now? Or maybe Furret, now that Furret's online. Not a ton of cards in hand to abuse Furret, though. Would want to get that Cleffa back up. 2 Cleffas in bin, losing a third would be pretty tough. Looks like we're pulling out a fighting energy. I assume that was Furret then. Now, Aqua Trick from Vaporeon could end up being funny in this matchup because, yeah, you have Furret pulling special energy out, but moving energy somewhere useless, like a DCE off of a Machamp to something like the Mr. Mime would be as good as putting it in the bin, in my opinion. All right, that's a different Machamp. Okay, Skyridge Machamp comes in, and it's going to drag off, I assume, the Cleffa. Did I read that wrong? Okay, whatever got dragged off there, I'm not sure what ended up taking the damage from that. I guess it was the... I must have missed something there. Alright, regardless, Cleffa and Jolteon switching back and forth to see if a healing field could be hit, but it was a tail, so no healing on the Jolteon. Lots of thinking going on from both sides here. Alright, looks like we're going to Terraform. So, top 4 cards get looked at, rearrange as you please. So, very powerful if you get to use it turn after turn after turn. Shape your turns if you're not eking, if you're not using elms, if you're not constantly shuffling your deck, you can really set yourself up long term. Always being able to go like 4 cards deep. Once you push what you don't want to the bottom continuously, as long as you find something worth keeping. Alright, drag out Attempt on the Cleffa. That's a 6, that's a heads, so let's see what gets dragged out. There are a lot of free retreaters, and pretty much anything but the Vaporeon would be able to attack in some capacity as long as you have Espeon able to bounce energy, so. Alright, Espeon comes in. Nope. That's a hard choice. We'll give him a minute. Hard decision here because you do have the healing field and a lot of free retreaters. You also don't want to invite a Shadow Bind to the face from Umbreon. Alright, Vaporeon comes in, makes sense. It has no attaches, it can't attack right now. Of course, you could bounce a DCE to kind of alleviate that, but alright, lots of cards in hand, good lord. Looks like we're going to Comp Search away a Brock's Ninetales and an Igglybuff to go and get whatever we want, but we might not find out because the opponent does not get to see. Alright. That was a Tails for Healing Field. I can see a Warp in hand. And an energy removal hits the DCE on Machamp. That's tough. 2 Machamps, but not enough energy to do much right now. And there comes the Warp. It gets the Vaporeon out of trouble. Wouldn't be a bad idea even to bounce that Warp prematurely just so it can't be targeted by an energy removal. It would also prevent you from taking unnecessary damage here. Yep. Okay, lots of Espeon bouncing because I'm pretty sure this Jolteon is just going to keep on swinging with Thunder Spark. A Healing Field to replace Healing Field, so we're going to see another roll, see if this works out. It's a Tails, so still no Healing Field healing anything. Alright, and another Thunder Spark continues to tally up damage on the Espeon, which is okay because Healing Field eventually will hit heads. It's a free retreater, and the Jolteon's a free retreater, so it's easy to determine what Healing Field will target for you. The Umbreon taking damage is a little tougher. Also worth noting that you could bounce that Darkness Energy and get your Thunder Spark up to 50. Yeah, you take damage between turns, but you can always bounce it back with Espeon. Alright, looks like we're just pulling out fighting energies with Furret. Some good scavenger hunting going on. Roll for Healing Field is going to be a Tails. That is the least healing field I've ever seen. And if only you could turn that mime off, huh? Alright, bin check. So, starting to count things like comp search, item finder, maybe how many traders there are, maybe even how many evolutions are in the bin. I don't know what the spread on this list could be. Oh, okay. We're showing an energy removal. Just got to figure out where it's going to go, and it goes to the Darkness Energy. Probably the right idea. Not sure how many Darkness Energy you have room for in a list like this, but Umbreon being able to use Dark Moon is not something you want. If Umbreon is active, for each Darkness Energy you have attached to it, you can look at your opponent's hand, pick a card that matches the number of Dark Energies you have attached, and shuffle them into the opponent's deck, then they draw that same number. You just don't want the disruption if you're Machamp at this point. You're having enough trouble getting set up. And, you know, Umbreon would also get the attack boost from that Darkness Energy. So I think that was a pretty good energy removal. Here comes that Warp Bounce again, so Drag Off for 20 continually is stacking up on the Vaporeon, but the Healing Field's gotta hit this Espeon at some point, and it does, so down to 20. And now you probably feel more comfortable just staying in as Espeon, taking advantage of Damage Blast. There's already 40 damage markers on that Machamp. Alright, this could hurt. It won't be a knockout, though. Actually, it could be a knockout with Strength Charm. So that was a 3, a 5, a 5, and a 3. Wow, that did very little. Strength Charm gets discarded. That'll deal another 40, up to 80. What was that, 3-5-5-3 or something like that? But yeah, there's a world where that is a knocked out Machamp, and then unclear how you pilot your way out of that one. Still in a tricky situation here. You definitely want to get a healing field, heads. Nope, that's agonizing. I guess you could hope for Espeon to hit 8 tails. You're halfway there based on the last turn. I assume we'll see some terraforming too. That could take some time. Not a lot of cards in hand. Maybe you got to get a Eek going. All the momentum on the Foxbox side right now. And a quick bin check, so we will be right back. All right. Just naturally retreating with the Machamp, 2 fighting to bin. Cleffa comes in, guarantees the Eek. Now we've already seen 2 Cleffas get knocked out, I believe. Got to get a full hand though. You're out of cards, you can't leverage for it that way. Definitely behind on attaches now. A Rainbow comes in on the Umbreon. And now the Umbreon comes in. Oof. Alright, so it looks like we're going to see some Dark Moon action here. How many Dark are attached, though? 2 or 1? I can't quite tell. I think only 1. Alright, we see the hand for Dark Moon. A Magby, that's funny. There's the Strength Charm. Where has that been this whole time? Alright, looks like that the e-reader card I can't identify is either a Rainbow or a Darkness Energy because 2 cards went in. So some shuffling, but at least Machamp gets to draw 2 fresh ones. And I believe that Tails there was for the baby rule. No, maybe? No, it was for Healing Field. This is for the baby rule. That's tough. Well, at least it got to Eek before it got unceremoniously binned. Bringing in the Terraforming Machamp. If you're not familiar with Shadowbind from Umbreon, it's 3 colorless and the defending Pokemon can't retreat during your opponent's next turn. Deals 30, but obviously you can power that up with Darkness Energy. You don't get that attack boost through a Rainbow Energy that's acting as Dark, but assuming that other e-reader that I can't quite see is a Darkness Energy, that would put it to 40, so we'll see. A natural attach. And the Espeon and the Umbreon create a very awkward dynamic with that Mr. Mime. Good news is that Machamp is 1 more attached next turn from attacking, so... And it does have 120 HP. Largest in the format, matches some other big hitters. We'll read off Iron Fist if we have to. And an item finder, chucking the Magby and a Machop. What's coming out for item finder here? Maybe an L, maybe a copycat. Maybe a Goldberry, honestly. If you're pitching a Machop, you're probably trying to preserve these 2 Machamps. Yep, there's a Goldberry. Looks like it's going to be used in between turns to just proc the Skyridge Machamp. I almost wonder if you could also have considered putting it on the active and just Iron Fisting your way to victory. Another chop was already in hand, okay. So binning that other Machop, not a huge problem. With all Machops more or less visibly represented on board though, any knocked out Machamps would mean you're not gonna set more up too easily. Alright, a healing field is a heads. Here comes a fan club for 1. It's going to be a Brock's Vulpix. So there's the first Fox that we've seen from Foxbox hit the field. Keep in mind, if you Brock's Ninetales into an evolution with an ability, you can't use that ability, so... Lots of considerations, not sure... A DCE onto Cleffa, that's not too bad since you can bounce it with Espeon back to hand. And we have a Warp, a Fighting, and a Machamp in hand. Now, Machamp is definitely running a lot of basic energies, so if Umbreon does make you put any cards back in hand, you could probably draw back into it again or use Furret, so not a big deal. They decided to just swing. Alright, Iron Fist. So, from Machamp, Iron Fist counts the number of Pokemon you have in play with damage counters on them. Flip a coin, and if it's heads, the attack will do 50 plus 10 more for each of those damaged Pokemon that you have. So we'll definitely see that attack happen. And the coin flip isn't really going to matter. The base 50 is going to be enough to knock out the Umbreon. And we see an Oak for a full 7. That couldn't come at a better time right now. Igglybuff comes down. Is that the second Igglybuff? I could have sworn we saw one. No, it got tradered into the deck. I don't think it went to the bin. And a Strength Charm on the benched Machamp, because Drag Off with a Strength Charm is very similar to Snatch. And it can hit a baby if it's on the bench and knock it out from full, so... Gonna see some terraforming here, so now Machamp's got some action going on. You know you're going to be able to take a prize off of that Umbreon here. That's a lot of energy off the board that Espeon can't rescue. Lots of thinking here. Alright, there's the knockout. Prize taken. Curious, we're going to have to keep an eye on Gus, because right now, with Healing Field working as poorly as it's been working, 50 from Iron Fist without flipping heads for additional damage is going to be taking out most evolutions. That Vaporeon only has 70. I think the Jolteon also only has 70. And the Espeon has 80, but you just have to hit heads right now at least on Iron Fist to also one-tap that. Because I do believe Iron Fist counts damage on the active self. Yep, it does. So Machamp doing lots of damage to this, what I'd consider a more mid-rangey deck style. DCE comes down for Brock's Ninetales. How many DCE are on board right now? 3? Well, 3 just for Foxbox's side, and we see a Tails on the healing field. So that's, once again, terrible considering the Iron Fist math we've been doing. Alright, and here comes Damage Blast. Tails again, and 1 head. So that will do 40. Up to 60 on the Machamp. So Machamp halfway knocked out. 120 is a big mountain to climb, though. Draw for turn is probably something predictable because of all the terraforming. And a Fighting Energy goes onto the Skyridge Machamp. Rolling for Healing Field, also a Tails, my lord. All you gotta do is hit heads, and you can take out the Espeon. $50, heads goes to 70. Of course, if you don't hit the heads, it's a 50-50 from the Espeon that it'll knock out the Machamp. And a Traveling Salesman, it's only fetching 1 Strength Charm. It can fetch 2 tools. You know, it'll hit targets of Goldberry and Strength Charm in this deck. Strength Charm's going to active? Am I doing the math wrong here? Maybe it's not actually attached. But wording on Iron Fist definitely means it would hit enough damage. I guess the Strength Charm is just going to guarantee that a flip isn't even necessary, so that's fine. Playing it safe, not feeling good about the flips. Can't blame them when you've seen 3 Clefas go down on first attack attempts. And now we're at prize parity. I think we're at 3-3 here, so Foxbox running out of foxes and boxes. And just getting a single Machamp to stick on board, it's been able to deal a lot of damage. And that's kind of what fighting decks do. A lot of fighting archetypes are, they just have high HP. They have high damaging attacks, although not hyper efficient attacks. You usually need a good amount of attaches, but Healing Field does hit the Jolteon. Cleffa comes back in. Gotta love that free retreating. Fire Energy on Cleffa is going to guarantee the Eek, and we have a Dark Espeon attached to the shape-shifted Brock's Ninetales, but that's not going to matter, assuming that everyone remembers Igglybuff is on the board. Now Skyridge Machamp is coming up to speed with its own attaches, so no babies are safe right now. Healing Field is a Tails. Will they notice the Iggly? ER the DCE. Yeah, let's Igglybuff gaze that Dark Espeon into the bin. Alright, we'll give it a minute here. We're going to terraform. We'll be right back. Wish we could see the terraforming thought process here. It would give me lots to talk about. And a big turn for the Machamp side. Not sure what they're thinking right now. Copycat's also a sequencing nightmare in my opinion. Looks like we're going to fur it for some energy here. Maybe? Oh, now we're terraforming. Was that for fur it before? It's always hard to tell. There's the Iggly buff to the Dark Espeon. Or at least it was announced, I'm pretty sure. Not sure what's going on here. There it is, okay. Flip for a knockout on Cleffa. That's a Tails, my goodness. Not much you can do about that. Alright, still 3 prizes aside, very close game. We'll see how Foxbox can get some momentum back because right now Machamp is looking really well and set up. Quite a bit of damage tagged on the Machamps, but oh, okay. Jolteon's just going to come on in. Another Jolteon coming down, but that's on Brock's Ninetales, and as long as there's an Iggly buff, I wouldn't do that. Oak? That's a big hand to Oak away. Alright, let's talk Jolteon since it's been doing so much work. Thunderspark to 40 on active would put that Machamp dangerously close to a knockout. I'm not sure how many more gold berries are in deck for Machamp. We saw Salesman only pull out 1 strength charm, so you have to assume all the gold berries are in the bin and that an item find would be needed to get another one. Thunderspark also would not necessarily be powering up the Iron Fist attack return here. Okay, there goes the Jolteon due to Iggly buff. So yeah, if a heads comes off of Iron Fist here, that's 70 to Jolteon based on math on board. Looks like maybe that was a Terraform, can't quite tell. Town V, this will take a second. So assuming that your Jolteon is going to get knocked out from some coin flips here, your next attacking patterns for Foxbox don't look fantastic right now. You probably have to find a Town V of your own. And some bin checking. Looks like we're just taking some sequencing time. Looks like that is a Terraform based on looking at the top 4. And a Healing Field attempt is going to be a Tails. Okay, we're retreating the damaged Machamp. Of course, it can't really hide from 2 Thunder Sparks. Now that the other Machamp is in, we'll give you a quick insight into what Skyridge Machamp can do. Immunity prevents all effects of the opponent's attack done to the active Machamp. And Drag Off, as we just saw, take a prize. Before doing damage, you can target a bench Pokemon and switch it with the defending. Then deal 20. Strength Charm boosted that to 30 to knock out the Cleffa without having to roll for Baby Rule. So, great attack, and Hurricane Punch is very fun. For a DCE and 2 Fighting Energy, you flip 4 coins, and the attack does 20 damage times the number of heads. Sorry, 30 damage times the number of heads. I think I said 20 there. So, if you're really lucky, that's 120 to format. Now we see the Oak come down, getting rid of a Cyclone. I guess Cyclone just pulls in the Iggly buff. And a Town V from Foxbox's side. I assume we'll see there's a Cleffa, definitely some Eevees, maybe some Espeon. That is way more than 5. I think they're just lining up the options because the bin is so full. Yep, just pulling out all the targetable options here. Unclear what the number of gusts are because the benched Machamp getting knocked out would be pretty tough. Alright, so the official 5 are going to be 2 Eevee, 2 Psychic, and an Espeon. Despite all of the work Jolteon has done, Espeon has done just as much work. Alright, Healing Field attempt on the Cleffa. It's a 6, okay. That's important because if the Cleffa goes to bench because you want to start attacking, then Dragoff would definitely knock it out there. So that was a big Healing Field heads. And here comes Jolteon doing what Jolteon's been doing this whole game. And that Thunder Spark is going to put the benched Machamp inches away from a knockout. But both Machamps have 120, so big HP bodies. Or at least I assume we're going to see a Thunder Spark. Actually, Thunder Spark would put that Cleffa back to 10, so maybe you don't want to do that. Oh, okay. Gusting up the Mr. Mime instead? Nah, can't be. Pulling the Machamp. No, pulling in the Machop. Okay. Okay, so Strength Charm from the Jolteon is a guaranteed knockout with the Gust on that Machop. And it puts 2... Oh, wow. Okay, so that Strength Charm puts the bench damage from Thunder Spark up to 20 for everything. That was a great play. A double knockout. But now you know the Machamp can come on in and take out the Cleffa. And that'll put us down to prize parity, 1 prize aside. Healing Field here comes in. Actually heals the Machamp for once. Going back to that previous sequence, so Strength Charm on Thunder Spark made it deal 20 to everything on bench with energy. So that perfectly knocked out the other Machamp. And the Healing Field allowed the Cleffa to take that hit without offering up a prize itself. And of course, the active Machop at 50 HP was knocked out by Thunder Spark at 40 plus 10 from that Strength Charm. Comp searching for something. But Dragoff is just going to take out the Cleffa. 1 prize left each here. Now, 70 HP max on that Vaporeon, I'm pretty sure, means that you could comp search for, what, maybe there's another Strength Charm I'm not thinking of? Because Strength Charm with Dragoff into that Vaporeon would seal the game for Machamp. Likewise, Foxbox here just needs to be able to hit Iggly buff. Looks like we're going to item finder for a Gust. Yeah, there's the Gust. They show it from bin. Attempt to win the game off of a baby flip. And that's a head, so the Strength Charm was in hand. That would have allowed Machamp to take the final prize from the Vaporeon. Great game, very back and forth. 2 fun decks, 2 good pilots. Thank you for joining. We'll catch you next time.
So you can use this for knowing if your opponent is down to 1 prize. You just get to do 240 damage right now. So Tower content. I have another psychic energy, so I have a so I can topaz bolt. Oh yeah.